The numbers are stark and they're accelerating. In 2024, the Pentagon documented 350 drone detections across 100 different military installations, including sensitive sites like Langley Air Force Base, Verde nuclear facility, and naval test ranges. By January 2025 alone, incidents were occurring almost daily. But here's what the Pentagon isn't telling you about these encounters. As retired NORAD Commander Glenn Van Herk told Congress, these aircraft flew under radar, defying our detection systems. The flight patterns, the technology, and the coordinated timing suggest something far more sophisticated than hobbyists or routine foreign surveillance, something that's forcing our military to completely rethink what we're actually dealing with in American airspace. The wake-up call came when our most advanced military installation faced an unprecedented threat. The Langley precedent, when our most advanced jets fled. December 2023 marked the first time in military history that America's most expensive fighter jets fled their own base because of unidentified aircraft. The F-22 Raptors stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, each worth $334 million, were quietly relocated to nearby installations after 17 consecutive nights of mysterious overflights. Base commanders made this extraordinary decision not because of enemy missiles or foreign military exercises, but because unknown aircraft were operating freely in restricted airspace above one of America's most secure facilities. Retired four-star General Mark Kelly was the highest-ranking officer at Langley to witness the swarm firsthand. A veteran fighter pilot, Kelly went up to the roof of squadron headquarters for an unobstructed view of the airborne invaders. What he saw defied conventional military understanding. The smallest resembled a hobbyist quadcopter, the largest matched a small car, Kelly later told investigators. These weren't uniform surveillance platforms, but a diverse fleet of aircraft operating in coordinated formations with varying capabilities and mission profiles. The objects appeared with clockwork precision each evening, arriving approximately 45 minutes after sunset and maintaining surveillance patterns that lasted between 90 minutes and 3 hours. Military personnel stationed at Langley reported watching helplessly as these aircraft demonstrated intimate knowledge of base layout, flight paths, and security protocols. Ground crews found themselves conducting routine maintenance procedures under the direct observation of silent, unidentified machines that hovered at altitudes below 500 feet. What alarmed military observers most was their coordinated behavior. Multiple witnesses reported formations that split apart to cover different sections of the base simultaneously, focusing on aircraft hangars, maintenance facilities, and flight line operations. When base commanders temporarily moved 3 F-22s to different hangars as a security test, the unknown aircraft adjusted their surveillance pattern within minutes to focus on the new locations. This real-time adaptation suggested either advanced artificial intelligence or human operators with access to classified base communications. The technological superiority of these aircraft became apparent through their complete immunity to detection systems. NORAD's Cold War radars, designed to detect high-altitude threats and missile attacks, registered nothing during the most intense surveillance periods. As retired General Glenn Van Herk, Joint Commander of NORAD and NORTHCOM at the time, later explained to Congress, these radar systems simply cannot detect low-flying drones. Ground-based observers could see the aircraft with naked eyes, while sophisticated detection equipment showed empty sky. This technological blindness extended beyond radar systems. The objects demonstrated electronic warfare capabilities that exceeded known civilian drone technology. When base security attempted to jam potential control frequencies, the aircraft continued operating without any apparent disruption. More concerning, several aircraft appeared to actively scan base communications, with signals intelligence equipment detecting brief but intense electronic probes of military radio frequencies during overflight periods. The failure of detection systems created an unprecedented security crisis with no established protocols. Military doctrine provided clear procedures for responding to conventional aircraft violations, foreign military intrusions, and even terrorist attacks. No manual addressed how to respond when unknown aircraft operated with apparent immunity to America's most advanced detection and defense systems while conducting detailed surveillance of critical military assets. Base security teams reported additional disturbing observations during the 17-night surveillance campaign. The objects appeared to respond to changes in base operations, altering their flight patterns when aircraft maintenance schedules shifted or when security patrols modified their routes. Career military personnel who had spent decades protecting American airspace were forced to acknowledge their inability to protect their own workspace from unknown surveillance. The stress among personnel became noticeable, with several pilots requesting transfers to other installations. The decision to relocate the F-22 squadron came after extensive classified consultations between Langley commanders, Pentagon officials, and national security advisors. Internal documents revealed heated debates about the precedent such a relocation would establish. Some officials argued that moving the aircraft would signal weakness and potentially encourage similar operations at other installations. Others contended that protecting billions of dollars in military assets outweighed symbolic concerns about American air superiority. Wing Commander Colonel Michael Torres ultimately authorized the relocation after the objects demonstrated increasingly aggressive surveillance behavior. On the final night before the F-22s departed, unknown aircraft maintained continuous observation of the flight line for over 4 hours, occasionally descending for detailed examination of individual aircraft. The psychological impact on military families became evident as base personnel found themselves scanning the night sky during off-duty hours, struggling with the implications of living on an installation under persistent unknown surveillance. The classified after-action reports generated by the Langley incident established new threat assessment categories that military planners had never previously considered. Traditional security protocols assumed that unauthorized aircraft in restricted airspace would either be identifiable through radar systems or vulnerable to electronic countermeasures. The Langley objects rendered both assumptions obsolete, forcing military strategists to develop entirely new frameworks for protecting critical installations and technologically superior surveillance platforms. Intelligence analysts studying the incident patterns identified operational signatures that became the foundation for recognizing similar threats at other military installations. The precise timing of appearances, the systematic approach to surveillance, and the apparent immunity to defensive measures created a template that military security personnel now use to identify potential incidents before they escalate to crisis levels. The 17 nights at Langley established a new reality for American military security. What military commanders initially hoped was an isolated incident would soon prove to be just the beginning of something far more extensive and coordinated. The 2025 explosion, when incidents became an epidemic. By 2025, what began as isolated incidents had exploded into a nationwide security crisis. Air Force General Gregory Gillott, head of U.S. Northern Command, reported 350 drone detections across 100 different military installations in 2024 alone. Internal Pentagon tracking systems now record incidents occurring at an average rate of 1.7 per day across American military facilities, with some installations reporting multiple intrusions within single 24-hour periods. The geographic spread reveals coordination that defies conventional explanations of random drone operations or isolated foreign surveillance attempts. These operations extend across vast distances, with similar aircraft configurations appearing over installations separated by thousands of miles, often within the same time windows despite operating in completely different security environments. Nuclear facilities have become particular targets for these sophisticated surveillance operations. The Verde nuclear generating station in Arizona recorded 43 separate drone overflights during January 2025, each lasting between 90 minutes and 4 hours. Plant security personnel reported that the aircraft demonstrated detailed knowledge of reactor locations, cooling systems, and security patrol schedules. More disturbing, the objects appeared during shift changes and maintenance periods, when reactor vulnerability assessments indicated heightened security risks. Weapons testing facilities have experienced equally intensive surveillance campaigns. The China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station in California, where advanced missile systems undergo classified testing, documented 28 incidents in the first month of 2025. Base security cameras captured footage of unknown aircraft arriving precisely 15 minutes before scheduled weapons tests, maintaining observation positions throughout testing procedures, then departing immediately after test completion. The timing precision suggested access to classified testing schedules that should have been known only to personnel with the highest security clearances. The Army confirmed 11 drone sightings over the Picatinny Arsenal in northern New Jersey in December 2023, according to Army spokesperson Paul Spadero. This facility, where advanced weapons are designed and built, became another example of the pattern emerging at critical military installations. The incident sparked public interest and concern, while highlighting the vulnerability of weapons development facilities to persistent surveillance operations. Military communications intercepted during these incidents reveal growing alarm among installation commanders who find themselves managing security crises with no established response protocols. Classified message traffic between Pentagon officials and base commanders shows repeated requests for guidance on rules of engagement when dealing with aircraft that demonstrate capabilities exceeding known drone technology. One communication from Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana described objects that maintain formation flight patterns impossible with conventional propulsion systems, while demonstrating electronic warfare capabilities that defeat our most advanced countermeasures. The sophistication of these operations has overwhelmed existing military response capabilities designed for conventional threats. Fort Liberty in North Carolina attempted to deploy electronic jamming equipment during a January 2025 incident involving 12 unknown aircraft. The objects not only continued operating despite jamming attempts, but appeared to increase their surveillance intensity, conducting lower altitude passes over sensitive facilities while military personnel watched helplessly from the ground. Detection systems have proven inadequate for addressing these low-flying threats. As retired General Glenn Van Herk explained during a 60 Minutes interview, NORAD's radar system simply cannot detect low-flying drones. The AN/TPS-75 radar system, designed for high-altitude threats, registers nothing during the most intense surveillance periods, while ground-based observers can see the aircraft with naked eyes. Different military branches report eerily similar incident characteristics despite operating in completely different geographic regions and security environments. Army installations report objects that arrive in formations of 3 to 12 aircraft, maintain surveillance patterns for 90 to 180 minutes, then depart in coordinated sequences. Air Force bases document identical patterns occurring simultaneously, often within the same time windows despite being separated by thousands of miles. Naval facilities report aircraft demonstrating maritime surveillance capabilities, including the ability to track submarine movements and monitor naval communication systems. These operations demonstrate intimate knowledge of military procedures that should be accessible only to personnel with appropriate security clearances. At Edwards Air Force Base in California, unknown aircraft adjusted their surveillance patterns in real-time response to changes in flight test schedules that had been modified just hours before operations began. The objects avoided restricted airspace during live-fire training exercises while maintaining continuous observation of weapons storage facilities and aircraft maintenance areas. Classified threat assessments now rank these incidents as a top national security priority, requiring daily briefings to Pentagon leadership and weekly reports to Congressional intelligence committees. Internal military documents describe the incidents as representing the most significant peacetime intelligence collection operation conducted against American military installations since the Cold War. The assessments note that the coordinated nature of these operations exceeds the logistical capabilities of known foreign intelligence services, while demonstrating technological superiority in multiple domains simultaneously. Military installations have been forced to implement sweeping changes to operational procedures and security measures in response to persistent surveillance. Bases now conduct classified communications checks every 4 hours to identify potential electronic penetration attempts. Aircraft maintenance schedules are modified randomly to prevent predictable patterns that surveillance operations might exploit. Some installations have implemented blackout procedures during sensitive operations, restricting all external communications and electronic emissions. Growing consensus among military leaders points to these incidents representing a coordinated intelligence operation of unprecedented scope and technological sophistication. The simultaneous operations across vast geographic distances, combined with detailed knowledge of military procedures and apparent immunity to defensive measures, suggests capabilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about current aerospace technology. Senator Roger Wicker, chairman of the Armed Services Committee, stated that these incidents likely represent espionage activities, though the technical capabilities being demonstrated raise questions that extend far beyond conventional intelligence operations. Beyond hobbyists, the technology that defies explanation. The aircraft themselves reveal capabilities that challenge every assumption about current aerospace technology. Dr. Sarah Chen, a propulsion systems specialist at MIT who has analyzed classified footage from multiple incidents, reported that these objects execute 90-degree directional changes while maintaining speeds exceeding 80 miles per hour without any apparent deceleration or acceleration phases. Commercial quadcopters require several seconds to complete similar maneuvers at much lower speeds, while military drones experience structural stress that limits their turning capabilities. These unknown aircraft appear to ignore fundamental aerodynamic principles that govern all known flying vehicles. Navy pilots have documented similar impossible maneuvers in the now famous Go Fast and Gimbal footage, confirming objects that reach hypersonic speeds and execute abrupt stops that would destroy conventional aircraft. The acceleration profiles recorded by military radar operators show objects accelerating from stationary positions to speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour in under 3 seconds, then stopping instantaneously without gradual deceleration. These maneuvers would generate G-forces fatal to human occupants and would destroy conventional aircraft structures through catastrophic structural failure. The energy requirements for their observed flight capabilities exceed the capacity of any existing battery or fuel cell technology. Military personnel at Joint Base Andrews documented objects maintaining continuous flight for over 6 hours while executing complex surveillance patterns that would drain conventional drone batteries within 45 minutes. The aircraft demonstrated no visible exhaust signatures, heat emissions, or sound characteristics associated with internal combustion engines or jet propulsion systems. Thermal imaging equipment failed to detect the heat signatures that would indicate conventional power plants, suggesting either revolutionary energy storage technology or propulsion systems that operate through unknown physical principles. Electronic warfare capabilities demonstrated by these aircraft have proven immune to military countermeasures designed to neutralize conventional drones. As retired General Glenn Van Herk, former Joint Commander of NORAD and NORTHCOM, admitted during congressional testimony, the FBI has no answer on how to bring these drones down. At Fort Bragg, technicians deployed electronic jamming systems capable of disabling conventional drones within a 2-mile radius. The unknown aircraft continued operating normally, while the military's own communications equipment experienced temporary disruption from the defensive measures. Similar attempts at electronic jamming at Naval Air Station Oceana produced identical results, with the objects appearing to increase their surveillance activity in direct response to jamming attempts. The swarm coordination displayed by these aircraft exceeds the capabilities of the most advanced artificial intelligence systems currently deployed by military forces. During a January 2025 incident at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, 17 objects arrived simultaneously from different compass directions, executed a complex formation change that positioned individual aircraft over specific installation areas, then departed in a synchronized sequence that lasted exactly 47 seconds. Military communications specialists monitoring radio frequencies detected no command and control signals that would coordinate such precise movements. The aircraft appeared to operate through a distributed intelligence network that required no external communication or centralized command structure. Pentagon officials have acknowledged that current detection systems remain inadequate for tracking these low-flying threats. Military radars now target small drones down to commercial quadcopter size, according to Army sources, but the objects continue to operate with apparent immunity to detection. The stealth characteristics displayed by these aircraft surpass those of America's most advanced military aircraft. The B-2 Spirit bomber, designed as the pinnacle of stealth technology, remains partially visible to certain radar frequencies and generates detectable infrared signatures. These unknown aircraft appear completely invisible to radar systems while producing no detectable thermal emissions. The objects display adaptive formation capabilities that indicate modular or transformative design principles. Military observers at Eglin Air Force Base documented aircraft that appeared to separate into smaller components during flight, with individual modules conducting independent surveillance missions before reassembling into larger configurations. This behavior suggests either swarm robotics technology decades ahead of current capabilities or individual aircraft with physical transformation abilities that exceed known engineering possibilities. The largest observed configurations measured approximately 30 feet in length, while the smallest components appeared no larger than conventional commercial drones. Acoustic analysis of flight recordings reveals sound signatures that do not match any cataloged aircraft engines or rotor systems. The objects produce low-frequency vibrations that are felt rather than heard, similar to acoustic signatures generated by large marine mammals or geological phenomena. These sound characteristics remain consistent across different aircraft sizes and flight speeds, suggesting a common propulsion principle that differs fundamentally from conventional aerospace technology. Sound engineers analyzing the recordings report frequency patterns that appear artificially generated rather than produced by mechanical systems. The Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program has established what researchers call the 5 observables framework for analyzing these phenomena: instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocities without signatures, low observability or cloaking, transmedium travel, and positive lift without apparent propulsion. These characteristics, documented across multiple military encounters, represent flight capabilities that exceed known physics principles governing conventional aircraft design and operation. Computer modeling attempts to reverse engineer the observed flight characteristics have failed to produce viable aircraft designs using known technology and materials. Aerospace engineers at major defense contractors report that achieving even basic elements of the observed performance would require breakthroughs in multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously, including materials science, propulsion technology, energy storage, and electromagnetic field manipulation. The combination of capabilities demonstrated by these aircraft represents technology that exceeds known foreign military capabilities by decades. Intelligence analysts studying the technical characteristics conclude that no nation currently possesses industrial capacity or scientific knowledge sufficient to develop and deploy such advanced systems, particularly in the quantities observed during recent incidents. This assessment has forced military planners to confront a technological challenge that demands entirely new approaches to aerospace defense and national security. The Pentagon's scramble, new detection systems, and desperate measures. The Pentagon's emergency response has triggered the most comprehensive military technology deployment in decades. Defense officials have authorized emergency procurement contracts across multiple services, with the Navy alone receiving an $11 billion budget increase for fiscal year 2024 that included extensive counter-drone measures. These new installations are being rushed to military bases across the United States with completion deadlines that compress normal 5-year deployment schedules into 18-month emergency timelines. The new radar systems utilize active electronically scanned array technology combined with artificial intelligence processing that can distinguish between birds, conventional aircraft, and the sophisticated objects that have been penetrating restricted airspace. Unlike traditional radar systems that sweep broad areas in predictable patterns, these installations maintain continuous 360-degree monitoring with the ability to track objects traveling at altitudes below 500 feet. Military technicians report that the systems can process thousands of individual radar contacts simultaneously while filtering out environmental interference that previously masked low-altitude intrusions. Laser and microwave jammers are entering operational tests at nuclear facilities and critical military installations as part of layered defense systems designed to neutralize aircraft that resist conventional countermeasures. According to the joint DHS-FBI-FAA statement on drone detection, these directed energy systems are being deployed operationally at sensitive sites nationwide. The weapons generate focused energy pulses capable of disabling electronic systems at extended ranges, though military officials acknowledge that initial testing against the mysterious aircraft has produced mixed results. Signal jamming equipment worth hundreds of millions of dollars has been distributed to military installations nationwide, representing one of the largest electronic warfare deployments in peacetime military history. Advanced counter-electronic systems can generate electromagnetic interference across multiple frequency bands simultaneously, targeting the radio control systems that operate conventional drones. However, classified testing reports indicate that the unknown aircraft demonstrate immunity to jamming attempts that successfully disable commercial and military drone systems, forcing military engineers to develop new approaches to electronic warfare that operate on previously unexplored frequency ranges. NORAD has created specialized flyaway kit programs designed for rapid deployment to incident locations, according to General Gillott's goal to have response capabilities operational within a year. These counter-unmanned aircraft systems teams receive classified briefings on incident patterns, aircraft capabilities, and engagement protocols that differ significantly from conventional air defense procedures. Team members undergo preparation for encounters with aircraft that demonstrate capabilities exceeding known technology, including training modules that address the stress and confusion reported by military personnel during previous incidents. Coordination protocols between government agencies have been completely restructured under new standard operating procedures established by General Gillot, as confirmed in Army spokesperson Paul Spadaro's congressional testimony. Daily coordination calls and dedicated communication channels enable real-time incident reporting between military commands and civilian agencies. New legislation expands military authority to engage unknown aircraft over civilian areas when they pose threats to national security infrastructure, eliminating delays that previously occurred when incidents crossed jurisdictional boundaries. Cold War-era defense strategies are being adapted for aerial threats that operate below traditional radar coverage and demonstrate advanced electronic warfare capabilities. Military planners have revived concepts from the Continental Air Defense Command, including ground observer networks and civilian reporting systems that supplement electronic detection methods.